We're back. It's Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We are back from an extended weekend and ready to spend the next couple of hours with you talking sports of local, regional, and national importance. Some more important than others. But it's going to be a fun show. We are back rested and refreshed. Relatively so anyway, after the 4-day weekend. So Wade, are you rested and refreshed? I mean, I probably shouldn't speak for you.
Yeah, we're back, buddy, and looking forward to being on air today. A couple good days away and a lot to dive into, as you made mention a moment ago. It's going to be a fun Top 5 Tuesday, I think.
Yeah, we missed a lot. Probably wasn't the greatest weekend to take Friday and Monday off, but hey, it is what it is. And like I said, we're back and we got a lot to get to. The Braves dropped a tough one in St. Louis last night. We'll talk a little bit about that. Stanley Cup final is finally final. A bit later than some folks would have liked, probably. What else we got? There's some NBA activity. There's some NHL activity. Vanderbilt has a track athlete participating in the U.S. Olympic trials. Yeah. There was
what else? What else?
There was a national championship decided last night in Omaha, and we should probably talk a little bit about that. In fact, in our second hour, we will be talking with Christopher Gabriel of KMJ Radio out of Fresno. And you might ask, why are we talking to someone from Fresno? Well, he's a huge Tennessee fan, and he's got some surprising insight for somebody from Fresno, California. But looking forward to talking to him. In the next segment, we will be visiting with Columbia Academy Athletics Director PERNELL KNOX, who was in Omaha for the duration.
Tough assignment, brother.
Man,
I've been on trips with that guy, and yeah, he lives a semi-charmed kind of life. I'll put it to you that way.
Man, okay. So full disclosure, he wanted me to go, and I couldn't.
I was going to ask if that's where you went. You know, we called for the long weekend. I said maybe Mo's getting his orange out and headed to cheer on Rocky Top.
You know, okay, so two things. One, I don't own a single piece of well, I've got some orange sunglasses. That's it. That's the only pair of orange apparel I own, and I don't know if it's because of my attending Middle Tennessee State or the time that I spent covering Vanderbilt or the time that I spent covering UT. I don't know, but that's the only orange apparel I have. But if I had gone, I would have been screaming my head off for UT. So
yeah, you got. I mean, number one, for your safety. First and foremost. I mean, depending on where you're sitting in that place, you got to be cheering appropriately, right?
You know, I saw somebody take a crowd shot during last night's game, and there was like a sea of maroon and one woman wearing an orange cap, and I'm like, how did that happen? Yeah, they did not do a great job of seating for that young lady at Charles Schwab Field. But yeah, PERNELL was out there from the Thursday practice prior to UT's game against Florida State up until last night's final pitch. So looking forward to speaking with him because he's got kind of a unique perspective on that championship series in particular. But yeah, this is going to be fun, man. We don't get to talk about local teams winning national championships very often, so we are going to spend a lot of time on the University of Tennessee today. So, I mean,
well deserved. It feels just kind of like a weight has been lifted across the state in many regards. Just the vibes, just people. I'm seeing my neighbors walking down the street. It feels like they're just strutting a little more, whistling a little more. I mean, it just feels like a weight has kind of been lifted for some of the Vols fans.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, and for so many reasons, like you said. So yeah, and I'm sure we'll be diving into a lot of those over the next couple of hours. But there's a lot to get to. So let's go ahead and get started, Wade, with this weekend's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the Rundown.
Zion Christian Academy, ZCA, offers a faith-based, Christ-centered education in Murray County. So give them a call today at 931-388-5831, or you can visit them online at zioneagles.org to schedule your appointment today. That's Zion Christian Academy, prepared for college, equipped for purpose.
Major League Baseball from the weekend. Wade, you and I both had a pretty good run over the weekend as the Braves went up to Yankee Stadium on Friday and picked up an 8-1 victory with their mid offense. Houston, speaking of mid offenses, Houston outshoots Baltimore 14-11 at Minute Maid Park. Big win for the Astros there. But wait, there's more, because on Saturday, the Astros down the Orioles 5-1. It was the Yankees 8, the Braves 3. And on Sunday, the Braves got away with a 3-1 getaway victory while the Astros completed a sweep of the Orioles 8-1. Monday was not so good for the Braves. Went to St. Louis, fell 4-3. We'll be talking more about all of that later in the show. In Nashville Sounds action over the weekend, the Sounds defeated Durham 7-4 at First Horizon Park on Friday, fell 14-4 on Saturday, but finished out the series with a 5-2 victory over the Bulls. The Bulls. Let's see. WNBA action over the weekend. Friday, it was the Indiana Fever 91, the Atlanta Dream 79. The Aces with an 85-74 win over Connecticut. On Saturday, Washington defeated Dallas 97-69. The Liberty down the LA Sparks 98-88. And Minnesota came up with a 73-60 win over Phoenix. On Sunday, Washington defeated Dallas 92-84. It was the Liberty 96, the Dream 75. Seattle with a 72-61 win over Connecticut. And the Chicago Sky edged the Indiana Fever in a battle of highly touted rookies, 88-87. Also in Major League Soccer action over the weekend. NSC, their second straight win? Defeated the NY City Football Club 1-0.
Good win for Nashville, and more on them as this week continues. Speaking of continuing, here is your schedule, folks, for today. Major League Baseball action beginning at 6:45. The Braves will continue versus the Cardinals. That game can be seen on Bally Sports South. On local television tonight, the Rockies will be at the Astros. So if you got MLB TV, 7:10 p.m., you can check that game out. First pitch down at Minute Maid Park. The Sounds continuing or beginning a series versus Jacksonville. 6:05 will be your first pitch tonight as they take on the Jumbo Shrimp. Just one game on the docket in WNBA action, but it should be a pretty good one as the Lynx will travel to the Liberty for a 7 p.m. tip-off. That game can be seen on Amazon tonight. Good game. Only there was one on the schedule, but it's going to be a good one, folks, here this evening. As that caps your WNBA schedule, that caps today's schedule, and that concludes the rundown.
Story brought to you, as always, by Piggly Wiggly over in Neely's Mill here in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch items available until 6 p.m. daily. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly and Neely's Mill in Columbia bringing you today's top story. And as we mentioned, the University of Tennessee Volunteers, in dramatic fashion, down Texas A&M 6-5 last night to claim the first NCAA Division I baseball national championship in the program's history. And when we say dramatic, it was dramatic from the beginning until the end. Christian Moore hits a leadoff home run in the bottom of the first to get Tennessee on the board. And after a little bit of a rocky ninth inning, Aaron Combs gets a strikeout of what would have been the go-ahead run with a runner on base to preserve that 6-5 victory last night. So never lacking for dramatics are the Volunteers. Finished up a 60-win season, the first 60-win season in Southeastern Conference baseball history. with that victory. So heck of a year for UT. And oh, by the way, they became the first national number one seed to win the national championship since 1999 when Miami did it in the first year under this current format. So huge win. And as you said, Wade, when we were talking earlier, it does kind of feel like a little bit of a weight lifted just in terms of, Tennessee 2 years ago being the national number one and not being able to get off their field, falling to Notre Dame in the super regionals. And, the expectations that have been built for this program since, Tony Vitello took it over, and to finally punch through. And I'll tell you, it feels not just like a breakthrough for baseball, but a breakthrough for University of Tennessee athletics.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Mo. That's exactly what I took away from this last night. And just kind of text from friends, some a little more coherent than others by that point in the night, but others, just on social. I mean, it was wild to see. And that's kind of the thing that I took away, was that this feels like a culmination of a program, baseball building for a while and breaking through. And it feels like a culmination of the athletic department somewhat picking itself up off the mat and finally breaking through. You mentioned the success they've had in baseball, being number one, but falling short. Football, they were ranked number one, a couple of years ago, and it looked like it was there for the taking, and that kind of crashed on them at the last minute. It just feels like things were going. Basketball, makes a great run this year. It just felt like things were getting so close, but it was kind of, same old Vols type situation. So the fact that they did punch through, the fact that they had to go through a little extra adversity to do so, it wouldn't be Tennessee without drama. So, of course, there had to be, a little extra drama and intrigue, not only with game 3 in general, but also, as you mentioned, the way that it kind of played out before our eyes last night. But, man, it feels – if you're a Tennessee fan, there really is no other way to describe probably how you feel today, because it is what did we hear from Carl Ravitch last night? Rocky Top has climbed the mountaintop. I mean, it is it's been a long time coming for a department that has been plagued by a lot of bad memories for the last couple of decades.
Yeah, and it wasn't just last night that they had to overcome adversity. They dropped the first game on Saturday to A&M. So, they're playing with their backs against the wall for the final 2 days, literally. And we're down 1-0 late in game 2 before getting a couple of 2-run home runs, one from Dylan Dreiling, who will never have to buy a drink in Knoxville again, and one from Cal Stark. So to win that one 4-1. And then still, you're battling in this one, even with a 5-run lead, apparently, because like you said, Tennessee can do nothing easily. So just the way they won, as much as the fact that they won, is just huge for that program. And again, it feels huge for that athletic program as a whole. So again, we'll be getting with Christopher Gabriel more on that and talking more with PERNELL KNOX here in the next segment. But it just it feels really, obviously feels really big, and it just continues the dominance of the Southeastern Conference, whether anybody wants to hear it or not. That's the 5th straight national championship in baseball that the SEC has claimed, and they were going to get it either way, obviously, since it was an all SEC matchup in the finals. But make fun of it if you want to, but it's times like this where you see why it just means more, I guess.
Yep. We saw it, and you made a great point. I mean, this was, Greg Sankey. Next month we'll probably hear from him at SEC Media Days, and he's going to have a little extra pep in his step for a variety of reasons. But going into it, knowing that you're going to win either way for yet another year makes it a really cool thing. And you're right, the way that Tennessee was able to hang on for dear life. I mean, when Caden Kent gets up late and, it's looking dicey, you're thinking, I don't know what's about to happen right here. And he chases 3 really kind of almost outside of the zone for a quiet AB,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, okay, maybe. But then it gets to the ninth, and things get a little dicey. A couple wild pitches, and next thing you know, I mean, you balk. I mean, any scenario is on the table when you're talking about Tennessee, and it was just a wild finish for a wild program and a wild department. There really is no other way. That's kind of always seemingly how it had to be for Tennessee. And then obviously cue the celebration, because that alone, I mean, that's what we could do it. We cannot even have a show today and just run the Tennessee highlights of the celebration videos from last night.
Yeah. I mean, I think you really said it really well. It's like it couldn't be any other way for Tennessee.
They weren't going to come out and win, 8-1 in the two games. I mean, they were going to have to probably lose one, and coincidentally, the first one. But they picked themselves up off the mat. Wasn't going to be easy in game 2, and then by the end, it wasn't easy in game 3. And this is a big victory, and it's kind of cool. And I got a lot of friends that ain't necessarily college baseball fans that are kind of coming out of the woodwork and celebrating this. But hey, that's part of it. And they get to celebrate as a whole and as a department for a program that has been a long time suffering. And
I have to apologize. I misspoke. Combs struck out the game tying run, not the go ahead run, because
that wild pitch brought him home to make it a 1 run.
Yeah.
And cash the over, for the record. So if you had the over under, you were down to your final strike. And if you had the over, you got the over. And if you're a Vols fan, you got the win too. So a buddy of mine pointed that out conveniently to me today.
So what was it, 10.5?
Mm-hmm.
Those big
that's
buildings.
That's what his bet was, at least. So he was sweating. This is an alum that was living and dying on every pitch. But, at the same time, that's why gambling is so dumb, Mo. He's a Tennessee fan. He's bleeding orange. But at the same time, I don't mind if that other run comes across. I can make a little extra bucks on the side.
Yeah. As you like to say, they built those big buildings out in Vegas for a reason. 10.5 was the line, and 6.5 is the final. I mean, those guys know stuff.
Crazy ending. Tennessee, Vitello jumping in the crowd. I mean, it was just electric. And it was kind of funny too, watching social last night. I'm going through Instagram, and I had friends, and they're alum, and they support Tennessee and they cheer for all their programs. But out of the blue, I didn't even know they were in Omaha. And boom, some of my friends had pretty dang good seats last night. I'm like, hey, I should hit you up this weekend.
Right. And trust me, if I'm in Omaha, you're gonna know it.
It was unreal, and as we've said, this is a well-deserved. I'm really excited to chat with our guests about it today, because this is one that really kind of is going to resonate. Yeah, Tennessee, deep down, whether they want to admit it or not, almost every Tennessee fan would want a men's basketball or a football national championship ahead of baseball, but you got to start somewhere, Vols fans.
I don't think they're going to give it back. When we come back
they ain't returning it by any stretch.
No, when we come back to the Lee Company Studios here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia, we will be joined by Columbia Academy Athletics Director PERNELL KNOX, who again kind of brings a unique perspective from Omaha. So looking forward to speaking with him when we come back from this break. Stay with us.
Wild horses are coming to Franklin. The Mustang Heritage Spectacular. 4 days of celebrity freestyle, liberty training, trick riding, and extreme Mustang makeover. Plus the shopping. Over 100 vendor spaces with clothing, food, home goods, and things you can't find anywhere else. All that and celebrity signings at a music stage too. June 20th through 23rd at Williamson County Ag Expo Park. Don't miss a moment with a weekend pass. MustangHeritageFoundation.org for tickets.
Hello, race fans, and welcome to Nashville Superspeedway.
That's right, guitars and fast cars right here in Music City. This summer, NASCAR is back at the Nashville Superspeedway. Get your tickets now to watch your favorite driver take on the 1.33 miles of concrete chaos. Visit NashvilleSuperspeedway.com to lock in your spot June 28th through the 30th for the Ally 400 race weekend.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
It's Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. In our final segment, Wade and I will give you our most memorable championships. Can't imagine what would have prompted that. But at any rate, right now, we are joined by Columbia Academy Athletics Director PERNELL KNOX, who, just judging by his cap, that kind of eliminates the first question I was going to ask, because, you know, and his shirt, because PERNELL, again, athletics director at Columbia Academy. He played his college ball at Freed-Hardeman, where he's a member of the Hall of Fame down there, but he played for Chuck Box, who is an assistant coach at Texas A&M. So I was prepared to ask PERNELL, who were you rooting for? Your former coach or your former player, right fielder Kavaris Tears?
Man, I think you know that answer. You know, I've had that question asked to me a lot, and it's a no-brainer. It's my balls. It was for Kavaris. I will tell you, I was hoping for an A&M UT final, and Box did tell me that he was going to have to give me some new apparel because he didn't like the orange on me, but he knew also where my loyalties lied too, so.
Good. So there was no hard feelings as far as Chuck went or anything like that?
No, not at all, because he's known from the day he recruited me. I was a Tennessee guy. He grew up a Mississippi State guy, so we've always went back and forth that way. You know, he's an old Ron Polk guy, so he knew where my loyalties would lie, but he was just glad I could come up there and see him and hang out with him what short time I did get to see him.
I'm glad you could go, too. Had you been to Omaha before?
I hadn't first. What better way to go?
I mean, was it everything you expected? Was it everything you had heard? How was it?
It was good, man, and it was everything that I've expected, everything I've heard. I guess if and when I go back, I think it will be best to not have any teams that I root for, so I can actually sit back and enjoy just some college baseball at its finest.
Yeah, you couldn't have scripted it any better, Purnell, in the sense you got the A&M and the Tennessee connection. They get to meet in the finals, but I'm kind of with you. You probably didn't get – your heart was racing 100 miles an hour from start to finish, I would imagine, anytime either of those two teams were playing. So you didn't get to enjoy the overall experience as much as kind of a casual fan would, I guess, right?
No, not as much as I wanted to, man. It was good. I wouldn't trade it for the world, being my first time. But trying to keep up with Kavaris and, show my support to him, do a little bit of work and try to get him some posts and some things, work related, him being an alum, and then trying to see Coach Box and his family. It was tough, so I didn't get to enjoy it as much as I would have liked, but it was good. I wouldn't trade it.
How cool was that, though? And walk us through kind of as you put on your athletic director hat, as it were, representing Columbia Academy and knowing you've got one of the stars of the entire College World Series out there. That's a proud alum for you guys. What was that experience like?
It was different, man. A little bit over the top, just from being a longtime Vols guy and Vols fan, and to see a guy who walked through your halls every day, just a really good kid, down to earth. Everybody loved him, and going to a school that you've always loved, playing a sport that you really love and appreciate, and him, and his family just kind of taking me in, letting me come to games, treating me like I was one of them, not only in Knoxville, but in Omaha as well. Nothing much more I could say. And to win it, that was just the icing on the cake.
Yeah, and the great thing about it, like you said, KT has always been such a good kid. I've always enjoyed the interactions I've had with him, and to see something like that happen for someone like that is really kind of special to watch.
Yeah, man, to see him grow up from getting there in middle school, and we posted some stuff. If you go on our Instagram and probably Facebook and see, if you will see the maturity that he's had physically from high school to where he is now. And that's the big thing that I saw a difference. We talked pretty much almost every day last summer with him trying to get in the weight room and work out. So just to see him grow maturity wise and physically, it was pretty cool. And, then to have him treat me like, I was family, get me tickets, come hang out at the hotel, all that good stuff. So it was fun, man.
Looking at Kavaris and seeing him play in high school and then watching him in Omaha, you felt like the bat was going to play, but he made two of the best catches you will ever see in Omaha, and one of them from center field. Well, two from center field. They were both when he was in center field. The diving catch on the track and the catch against the wall. I mean, did you ever feel like he would be the defensive force that he showed himself to be this weekend?
Yeah. A lot of people in Omaha asked me, did we in high school get to see him throw anybody out? And I told them, no, not really, because nobody ran on it. So we didn't get to see that, and he played a lot of first for us because we needed him more at first during his career probably than we did in the outfield. So he played a lot of first for us there. But defensively, just seeing him mature and seeing him grow and talking to him this year, he played quite a bit of center during the weekday games. If I got to see him on a weekday, he was in center, and we talked about that a lot. So not surprised by it. He's an athlete, and nothing he does on that ball field is surprising to me, especially when you see him grow, and you saw him every day in the hallways and in practice. So nothing surprises me.
I'll tell you what surprised me. That ball he hit in the eighth inning didn't get out.
Well, I would say it surprised me, but he hits a lot of them that way that he hits them on the nose, and you just don't know if it has enough height to get out. So I wasn't so much surprised by it. And from where I was sitting, if you don't stand up fast enough, you don't see where the ball goes. So I was caught doing that. So
that ball was blistered, man. But the play that Hunter Ensley made on that play to score were you able to see that?
I did see that. And they showed it replay after replay, and I'm still not sure how he avoided that. I didn't think it was going to be that close. I don't know what happened to make it as close as it was, but
I think it was a heck of a relay. But anybody that calls that a slide, I got to question them. That was more like a barrel roll into the plate there.
We'll take it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. PERNELL Knox, Athletics Director at Columbia Academy, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by TOA of Columbia. So you've had a taste of Omaha. You just going to kind of put this on your yearly docket now or what?
Man, I would like to. I've been gone almost 2 weeks, and it feels like I've been gone a couple of years. But I definitely got to come back. And like I say, I want to come back when my team is not in it. Hopefully that's not for a long time. But I think it would be more enjoyable to actually just sit down and watch good baseball and not necessarily care who wins or loses.
Did you go to every game?
No, but I went to pretty close to every game.
Caught almost all of them. Hey, PERNELL, I wanted to ask you, walk with me here if you will, but let's hop in a time machine. You got to go way, way back, but you got to go all the way back. Well, you only got to go back about a month. Columbia Academy wins the baseball championship, and now you're sitting here talking to us today about the Vols and one of your alumni winning a national championship. What does that do, and how do you kind of process the last month that you've been on managing all of that and kind of putting your program on the map? And then how soon can you and I go to Vegas, because you're on a bit of a heater, my man?
Man, been blessed. It's been a good run. It's no secret that our head baseball coach is one of the best who's ever done it. That's not surprising to you two. I know winning it for those guys and with that team was amazing. The work that they put in, we were young the year before, started a lot of sophomores, and I just told Coach, I said, I ain't gonna say I necessarily thought it was coming this soon, but if he could hang in there, this group could be pretty special. And they worked and listened and didn't always like what we told them, but did what we asked them to do, and it paid off for them. Quick side note: right after we won it, may have been the SEC tournament. We were all eating together at Champy's. Is that what it's called?
Champy's. Yep.
Kavars hit a home run in the tournament, and just somehow Richie was videoed our guys celebrating, and we sent it to Kavars. So it was just pretty cool to see that, after we win it, we're still rooting for a guy, who just not too long ago had on the same uniform they had on. So pretty cool, man. And I'm still on a high. I still can't believe not so much Tennessee won it, but that CA won it, with the group that we had, So
it keeps getting better and better for you.
It does, man.
PERNELL, to piggyback on that, what type of recruiting paraphernalia will y'all be putting out now with Kavaris carrying the national championship trophy, and kind of maybe photoshopping a CA t-shirt on him or something like that? I mean, what are y'all's plans to try to take advantage of this exposure? I mean, they mentioned Columbia Academy on a couple of telecasts and that kind of thing. Just that's the kind of exposure that money can't really buy.
Yeah. So much is going through my mind. Like I said, we posted a little bit the other day, and I posted it's a pretty cool picture on Instagram. You'll have to see it. It was just a picture I took of him getting on the bus. I can't remember if it was after practice or a game. He had his shades on, just really, really cool. And I just put something to the effect of from CA to national championship. From here, you can go anywhere. So a lot has yet to be done. We're still trying to think of things to do, but once things cool down, I'd like to get him on campus and sign autographs, all that stuff. But I just think people knowing who he is and how proud of CA he is, how well his family talks about CA. I think that's going to do, things that nothing else can do, just, him being there and being a really laid back guy, hard worker. I think that's going to say it all. No matter what we do, I just think the way he's walked and the journey he's had has been everything. So I think that's going to, sell a lot of tickets, recruit a lot of people, whatever you want to say. I think that's going to do most of the talking for us.
So y'all do want to try to get him back on campus and do something for him then here soon?
I definitely think so. He's got a lot going on right now, as you can imagine. I got to see him for a short time, just told him congrats. But draft stuff coming up, trying to finish up with graduation. I think they're getting back in and doing a parade today. So just trying to figure out when is the best time for him just to be on campus and hang out and, whatever he wants to do for us, we'll let it go and we'll figure it out.
PERNELL Knox, Athletics Director at Columbia Academy, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Where are you?
Dude, I have no idea. Somewhere in Missouri, on the outside of St. Louis. Yeah, you must be a pretty cool guy. I just stopped my car and pulled over. I'm at a Dairy Queen with my Wi-Fi going and my phone to try to get some kind of service for you guys.
Well,
that's love right there.
We certainly appreciate the effort. Get you a peanut butter parfait or get you a caramel shake or something and get on back this way, man. But we appreciate you taking the time with us, and we'll catch
Wade,
up.
I'm glad you're on there. It took you and winning a national championship and a state championship to get on the show, so I appreciate you. Unbelievable.
We have high standards here at Main Street Sports Today.
Yeah, man. The bar's got to be set high, and now you feel like you've accomplished that, man. And we are pumped, not just for you, but obviously this is huge for CA and really just kind of, to me, just Southern Middle Tennessee. And Mo and I are going to talk about it later in the show. Kind of really the state of Tennessee is going to benefit this, but it feels like Southern Middle Tennessee, Murray County, Lewisburg and Marshall County, especially, kind of going to all benefit and kind of get some nice pub from all this, which I think is just fascinating.
No doubt. Shout out to Columbia Academy. Shout out to Kavaris and his family. I'm telling you, they're first class, man, and it was awesome to get to sit by them and just kind of hang out with them. Like I said, they treated me, like I were their own. So enough can't be said about them and the love they showed. Not only me, but Columbia Academy as well, for sure.
It was really cool to see them show Roderick and Alicia on the telecast when Kavaris would do something big. So it's nice. It's always cool when you see people that in situations like that. Yeah, and can't thank you enough for stopping somewhere in Missouri at some Dairy Queen to come on with us. And we will try to get you on again when it's a little bit more convenient for you.
All right, look, last thing, I better give a shout out to Kendry Tears. He was more of a superstar this whole time than Kavaris and his parents. So if I didn't say anything about him, I'm sure I would be in trouble. So I wanted to say that. But thank you guys. Appreciate you. And I'll be touching base with you.
Travel safe, man.
Yes, sir.
All right. Hey, when we come back here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, we'll talk a little Braves baseball. So stay tuned when we return to the Lee Company studios after this.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
On 25th, 2011, Jair Jurgens became the National League's first 10-game winner of the season, giving up just a run on 3 hits over 6 innings as Atlanta eventually pounded host San Diego 10-1. Jurgens left with a 3-1 lead before the Braves broke loose for 7 runs in their final 2 at-bats, including a 3-run ninth-inning homer by Dan Uggla. Joining Jurgens as MLB's first double-digit winners were the Yankees' CC Sabathia and the Tigers' Justin Verlander. That was this day in Braves history. Jair Jurgens, CC Sabathia, Justin Verlander.
Talk about a time warp.
One of these things is not like the others. Yeah.
Pretty wild. A blast from the past in Jurgens for sure.
No doubt. Pretty wild and a little wacky, but that's tomorrow. Spencer Schwellenbach cannot avoid the big inning. Gave up 4 in the 3rd yesterday, and that was all it took for St. Louis to get by Atlanta 4-3. So the youngster coming along, being a young pitcher in Major League Baseball, I guess. I mean, kind of getting it force-fed to him here a little bit. Obviously showing enough to stick around. It's kind of like my golf game. You get that one really good shot that gets you coming back. Well, it's not kind of like my golf game because he has that one really bad inning where everything falls apart and everything else is typically pretty good for him. Mine is the opposite. But anyway, Braves fall 4-3 in St. Louis, but that's not all because Orlando Arcia had to come out of the game for dizziness, and pitcher Ray Kerr, another, midseason call-up from Gwinnett who had shown some promise, apparently has been diagnosed with ulnar collateral ligament damage and will undergo Tommy John surgery, the dreaded Tommy John surgery, and it seems to be catching in Major League Baseball and in Atlanta, obviously. So, stay out of the Braves clubhouse. But, we saw some good things out of Atlanta. Again, they went to New York. They won 2 out of 3. They've been on a little bit of a run. Tough night last night, but they've got Ronaldo Lopez going tonight in their 6:45 start. But, you just kind of wonder how much on the health front can a team withstand before they just cave. And I'm certainly not looking for sympathy from Wade, whose team has gone through all of this already. But I mean, it's tough to deal with so many guys being out.
Yeah. And I mean, your immediate thought is, well, okay, this is before the trade deadline. So how does your team, whether it's Houston, whether it's Atlanta, or whether it's a couple other teams that have just been decimated by injuries, do you readjust your strategy? And if you do, what kind of moves do you potentially make? We've seen Atlanta obviously make their fair share the last couple of seasons, and most of them, if not all of them, panned out seemingly very well. So is that an option that you go with, or do you just try and just keep chopping wood and just kind of stay afloat where you're at and then just take your chances in the postseason? That's what's fascinating to me when anytime you have a situation like this with a team that's 10 games over 500, but the injuries are mounting up, and presumably, yeah, that dam will burst at some point. But how do you tackle that situation is what I'm curious about.
And, that's the intriguing prospect of it all. How, what is the straw that breaks the camel's back in all of this? I mean, already Arcia was not having a great year offensively, particularly compared to last year. But, if the Braves are doing what they need to be doing offensively across the board, you can certainly afford Arcia. I think his offensive play this season has been more glaring because so many other folks have been struggling as well. But you cannot deny the glove work that he puts in every day. So it'll be interesting. Apparently, I did not watch the game last night. I was busy watching other things. But apparently Zach Short, when he went in at shortstop in Arcia's place, came up in a key situation late in the ball game and didn't come through. But I mean, he's a guy coming off the bench. I mean, what do you expect? So It's tough. And again, the Braves are one of like 4 teams in the National League with 40+ wins. So, cry me a river. I don't know. They still got to get things right. They still got to get things going more consistently in the right direction. But again, coming off a pretty big weekend, took 2 of 3 at the winningest team in Major League Baseball. So it's tough to, I mean, you just got to keep things relatively even keeled as best you can. Your Astros, on the other hand, announced their presence with authority over the weekend, took 2 from the White Sox to wrap up that series, and then swept visiting Baltimore. And that is not a bad ball club.
Yeah, no, my eyeballs, I had to pick them up off the ground when I saw those scores from the weekend. I was just like, holy cow, who's this team and what has happened to them? We read during the rundown 14 runs in that first game. I think that was a season high. And they've had just a couple crazy games as of late where you're like, oh, this is what they're capable of. Kind of working with, as we've mentioned, a little bit of a skeleton roster at this point, but the core is somewhat still intact in terms of the offense. So, yeah, 14-11 in game 1, 5-1, and then 8-1. I mean, 3 really nice wins versus one of the top teams in the American League. And Baltimore, kind of got to be scratching their head saying, how the heck do we lose to these guys? So,
not just lose to, but get swept by.
Get swept by. I mean, that 14-11 game was crazy too, because Houston scored 9 runs in the bottom of the 6th and then was just breezing and was up like 14-4 or something crazy. And then out of nowhere, gave up 7 runs late. Baltimore looked like they're going to get back in it. I mean, I don't know. It's talk about even keel. That's been my MO with them really since the start of the season. Is we'll get back to them in a couple months because it feels like they can beat anybody on any given night, and they certainly can lose to anybody on any given night. As we'll talk about, they got the Rockies, coming into town for a couple of games. Wouldn't shock me at all if they got and lose both of these games somehow now. I mean, it's just how it's been.
It sounds like you're just kind of building up your callousness a little bit,
You got to. And then you tune in September, when the games really start getting important. And then if you're still around, you get excited. And if you're not, well, okay. Good thing I didn't get so invested early because it'll just wear a toll on you with so many games. And if you go out and sweep Baltimore and then lose one or two to the Rockies in a quick little 2-game series, you're going to be just scratching your head saying, what is really going on? So it's kind of interesting, but yes, it does. You'd certainly rather win them than lose them. That is for sure. So it does feel nice coming off the weekend.
Yeah. I mean, it makes you feel like, the Astros are getting closer to where they're supposed to be.
And same deal with them and the injuries as kind of with Atlanta is if, it was kind of weird because in some regards, when they were 10 games back a couple days and weeks ago, you're saying, all right, maybe not the worst thing in the world, but just go ahead and just pack it up and let this season be what it be. And then now you're kind of sneaking in the mix already in the wild card. And then you're only 5 games back in the West. Now you might have to consider, do we start making moves as a buyer, which we've talked about, a couple weeks ago, were they going to be sellers or buyers? Now all of a sudden, maybe instead of sellers, they're buyers at this point.
Dana Brown said they've been buyers all along. So
yeah, I mean, the execs are telling you one thing, but as a fan, you're kind of wondering, if they really believe that, or if that's really maybe the best strategy. But good little stretch for them, and then they get the Mets after that, who are playing good baseball, but in theory, some more winnable games. So Houston, like you said, playing well at the moment.
Well, when you get the Mets, you may not have to see Edwin Diaz. Mets closer suspended 10 games for foreign substance. It was announced yesterday the suspension will begin today as the Mets host the Yankees after Diaz decided not to appeal the discipline. Apparently, he was ejected Sunday night before the 9th inning of the Mets win over Chicago when a sticky, discolored substance was found on Diaz's right hand. So, Diaz told reporters he only uses rosin, sweat, and dirt. I use the same thing always. I rub rosin, sweat, and I put my hand in the dirt a little bit so I can have some grip on the ball. I was really surprised because I didn't have anything on my hand, glove, or back. They always check everything. Vic Carapazza, the crew chief, said it definitely wasn't rosin and sweat on Diaz's hand. So
it could be a little Hawk Tua situation there for Diaz. Who knows, man? But yeah, you're right. You don't want that guy coming out when the trumpets start blasting.
Oh no,
that's not good. So yeah, I'd like to avoid him if at all possible.
You made mention of a recent phenomenon. Is it supposed to be Hawk Tua or is it Hawk Tua? Because I always kind of thought it was Hawk, not Hawk. Just
I think that comes down to some dialect, perhaps. Little slang.
Yeah,
we'll save the clip maybe for Wild and Wacky Wednesday if Mark is daring enough.
We're gonna need a clarification on Hawk.
Edwin Diaz. Yeah, he's got something going on. I don't know what it is, but it conveniently kind of popped up right around the internet's hottest meme right now. So
yeah, the latest TikTok sensation, huh? I saw it on a T-shirt on social media as well. So anyway,
yeah, I'm surprised there was not any Omaha some shirts floating around in the crowd out in Omaha, some enterprising individuals, and totally unrelated, but I do got to wonder, and I guess maybe this could be a follow-up for Wednesday. We got to find out more about our story we told everybody about in Omaha last week on the show with
Kirby and Kirby,
with the star-crossed potential lovers. Yeah, we gotta get some clarification on that.
Yeah, we do need to try to run that down and see if Kirby Connell did actually meet Kirby Connell. In addition to Edwin Diaz, there's another pitcher who is missing in action right now. Clayton Kershaw, working his way back from left shoulder surgery, has been shut down after some lingering soreness. Apparently, made a rehab and was experiencing some soreness and has been shut down. Started with Rancho Cucamonga last week, threw 37 pitches in 3 innings. Was expected to start tonight for AAA Oklahoma City and throw 4 innings, but that's been pushed back. So he has taken a week off, or is taking a week off. But, again, little to no sympathy for the Dodgers, 49-31, leading the NL West. But they are without, in addition to Kershaw, Mookie Betts, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and Walker Buehler is out again with some hip issues. So
everybody's hurt. Seems like
it feels like this year is going to be a battle of attrition. I mean, it just feels like there's more injuries this year. I don't know if more notable injuries or if it's more injuries that we've noticed, or if there are just more injuries. I don't know, but it feels like there's more injuries and health issues than there have been in some time. Meanwhile, Max Scherzer, coming back from injury, made his season debut for the Rangers yesterday. 5 innings, 4 strikeouts, 1 hit, 5 innings of shutout ball in a 4-0 win over the visiting Royals. And Kansas City's been playing pretty well, but kind of makes a statement about Scherzer. And not a good one if you're an Astros fan, right?
No. And yeah, Scherzer's another guy. I mean, it just seems like, we've been on this kind of weird injury carousel where certain guys are coming back, certain guys are going out. Scherzer kind of on that list. I'll be curious to see how he continues, and then also getting back to just Kershaw too. I'll be interesting to see, because it feels almost like, that kind of one extra, ace kind of in the hole that the Dodgers can kind of still play for a team that is dealing with some real injury issues like we've discussed.
Yeah. Scherzer had off-season surgery for a herniated disc, and has had some thumb and some nerve issues that kept him out as well. So welcome back, Max. I saw somewhere, and I'm trying to confirm it, but I think he might have tied Greg Maddux for career strikeouts in that start yesterday. I'm not seeing it in this article I'm looking at. Oh, there we go. Scherzer's 4 strikeouts in his return allowed him to tie Greg Maddux for number 11 on the all-time strikeout list at 3,371. That's a few swings and misses right there.
That is a lot. And we mentioned this a couple of weeks ago when we talked about Verlander and kind of, would we ever see, is 200 wins going to be the new 300? And Scherzer's right there just behind Verlander as a guy that could potentially, maybe get up to that 300 mark if things kind of broke a certain way. But really, he's kind of the last hope. So, kind of just continuing to climb up some of these pitching milestones that it doesn't look, once these are set, it feels like things are going to be set for a long time.
For a while. Absolutely. Yeah. Hour number 1 of Main Street Sports today is officially done. When we return to the Lee Company studios here, we will be joined by friend of the show, Christopher Gabriel of KMJ Radio out of Fresno, as we continue to recognize the 2024 NCAA National Champion Tennessee Volunteers. Stay with us here when we come back.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. We are Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes, heading into hour number 2 of Top 5 Tuesday. In our final segment, Wade and I will be giving you our most memorable championships, and it'll be interesting to see if last night's will be on that list for either of us. I think it will be for our next guest, Christopher Gabriel of the CG program from KMJ Radio in Fresno. Christopher, good afternoon. Great afternoon, right?
It's a great afternoon. First of all, can you hear me okay? And I'll tell you why I ask in a second.
We can hear you. I can hear you just fine.
Great, because
I can see you as well.
Even better for once, right? Well, maybe. I'm not sure. It's like 173 degrees out here, so they're having all kinds of issues with internet and what have you. Before we get started, you guys were talking about baseball. It's a sport that, except for the Vols and the college baseball, I have long since forgotten because I'm a White Sox fan. And the amount of time that you guys were talking about the Astros and other teams, that's more than I've spent talking about the White Sox the entire year. At this point, I'm just ready for Reinsdorf to just burn the whole thing down, send them to, you know what, Nashville doesn't deserve anything like that. Send them to Bolivia for all I care.
Hey, Christopher, you bring that up. I still got some wounds from the 2005 World Series. So just chill out with the White Sox and Astros talk if you don't
Well,
mind.
not that I don't really remember anything about that. Although the White Sox went 11-1 that year and swept the Astros. Not that I remember anything. It's the last, and Wade, it's the only good memory I have as a White Sox fan. I'm not kidding. The only other good memories I have were growing up in Chicago, my family taking me to original Comiskey Park and going to Twilight doubleheaders because of the fireworks show, because they never won.
Christopher Gabriel announcing his presence with authority, as he always does here on Main Street Sports Today. And it's always fun when we are able to get him on. And Christopher, I wanted to ask you, being the Tennessee follower that you are, what does last night's national championship in baseball do in terms of the perception of Tennessee men's basketball, Tennessee football, Tennessee women's basketball? I mean, does this raise the expectations? Does this turn up the heat on Barnes, Heupel, and Caldwell, and Karen Weekly?
Well, yeah, Karen Weekly will get. Well, that's a whole other discussion which we can have. I don't know that it turns up the heat in a bad way. I think it does it in a good way. I've made the point a lot of times, and Mo, you and I have talked about this a number of times. Wade, I don't know that you and I have, but we like to call it, or Tennessee likes to call themselves the everything school. And to the extent of the regular season, that's correct. 3 straight Directors' Cups in the SEC. They're cleaning up. They're doing great. But for me, that phrase, that term needs to happen in the postseason. And Tennessee consistently falls short. Karen Weekly, I think her recruiting has gotten better, but I just fear that she has reached the ceiling of what that program is going to be. And if I'm wrong, I'll come on your show immediately and say it. But I don't. I think they should have at least won a title or 2 by now. But they get to the biggest moment and they collapse. We've seen that with men's basketball. Not a collapse, but falling short against Purdue a couple of times, falling short against Michigan State, falling short against Ohio State a number of years back, the Greg Oden team. We've seen it with baseball in 22. We've seen it with football in terms of the inability on a consistent basis to beat Florida and get to that next level. I think what last night did is it allowed the university and those of us who are fans, like me, certainly, and have a big exhale and say, okay, they've gotten off the schneid, so to speak. They're going to hang a banner. It gives a lot more legitimacy to what's going on in Tennessee. And I think, guys, I love that Josh Heupel was there last night, that Rick Barnes was there. And I think it's going to be the impetus for them to say, hey, you know what? We did it. We broke through the gates for the Bulls in Pamplona. They're running out. They all have little orange scarves on them. And now it's time for us to raise our game as well. And listen, Tennessee, I'm going to wrap this into one more thought. You see all the Texas fans and the Arkansas fans, and Tony's going here. Tony's going nowhere. Tony Vitello is going nowhere. The man has built an absolute monster of a program. I mean, they've won a national championship. They're putting nearly $100 million into stadium renovations, which he helped give input to. The man is going nowhere. I think what we have here is a situation where they're going to be crossing paths in the hallways with Tony, and they're going to, every time they see him now, that's not just Tony Vitello. That's not just the head coach of Tennessee baseball. That's the national championship winning coach of Tennessee baseball. And I believe that is going to exponentially help this entire athletic department. Hopefully someone like Karen Weekly. I think Kim Caldwell is going to be helped by this because her recruiting, getting players in the portal, I think all of that's going to be helped because Tennessee is not a stepping stone school. It's not a group of 5 school. It's not a middle of the road school in Division I. It is a destination school. And I think this helps that for all the teams, Mo, Wade, across the board.
Yeah, and you brought it up immediately. And that photo last night in the video of Tony V celebrating with Josh Heupel, celebrating with Rick Barnes, it's twofold, right, Chris? Because on one hand, it's a really cool photo and it shows the buy-in. There's not as much ego, at least visible in the photo, at least involved among all the parties, which is not always the case at a lot of schools. But behind the scenes, those other two guys in that photo are saying, ooh, we got to step our game up a notch now, because we are talking college baseball. And in the grand scheme of things, maybe that's a few rungs down in the pecking order from what a lot of schools prioritize. But for Tennessee, you're hanging on to that by your dear life, because that's the only title you got of major note over the last, couple of decades. So now that, to me, is going to be the fun little chess match of seeing those other coaches try and match what Vitello has done in such a short amount of time.
Well, you're absolutely right, Wade. And I think one of the points that you were making, and it came out in a very subtle way, is that football is the economic driver at Tennessee and really at most places. Basketball is an economic driver as well, not nearly as much as football. Baseball is not. Yet baseball broke through. And I was asked on another show recently who I thought would break, this is a while back, who I thought would break through for a national title between Josh Heupel, Rick Barnes, and Tony Vitello. And I, without hesitation, I said Tony Vitello. I just felt like he had gotten the program to the point where they were ready to go. I think that the pressure that Josh Heupel feels, that we'll feel now from this, and what Rick Barnes feels, I think they both feel, and correctly so, guys, that they're close. Josh may not be close to winning a national championship, but there's no reason why they can't get into the 12-team playoff this year. And there's no reason why they can't have a year where they go 10-2. There's just no reason for that. But I think the pressure financially is, let's get to that playoff. Let's make that extra money. Let's share that conference money, getting into a playoff. Basketball, you got to the Elite Eight. You were close. We all knew that was going to be a problem with Zach Edey. It is what it is. But I think the competitiveness, the chess match, as you correctly pointed out, I think it's going to really force them to raise their game. I mean, look, even if you draw it out to this point, this year we saw Rick Barnes, his coaching for all the years that he has been a head coach, and he's a brilliant head coach. And I know that a lot of fans get frustrated with him. They call him regular season Rick. But the thing is, we saw his coaching evolve this year. We saw them play much more of an open floor, open court style. A lot of that was due to Dalton Connect, but I think we saw Rick's doing at Alabama. We see what they're doing at UConn. We see what they're doing at some other places that have been very successful. And if I want to get the kind of player that I got in a Dalton Connect, and he certainly got a couple through the transfer portal, I need to open things up a little more. We're still going to play great defense, but I need to open it up a little more. And I think with Tony Vitello, you look at some of the things that certain players have said, that they had a chance to go elsewhere for a lot more money, for NIL money. They were promised more, but they wanted to stay in Knoxville because they wanted to play for Tony. And Tony gets a certain kind of guy, right? Tony gets a certain kind of guy, and he wants somebody for the buy-in. Rick Barnes wants somebody with the defensive buy-in. Josh Heupel wants somebody who's going to buy into the idea of we're scoring 40 at least. And I think with all of these teams right now, there's a certain buy-in, there's a certain culture. I mean, objectively, can you name another college in the country right now that has three bigger name, better coaches at one spot, football, men's basketball, and baseball, than Tennessee? Can you tell me any other national championship game in those other sports where the other coaches showed up, and if they did, you would have known both of them? I don't think you could.
It was interesting, Chris, and it's interesting that you said that about Heupel and Barnes being there, because I mentioned it to friend of the show, Teresa Walker, how cool I thought it was that they were there as well. And I don't know that it's necessarily out of character, but at the same time, I don't know that Mike Elko and Buzz Williams were there last night. So.
No, right. And I think there's something to be said here. And I'm bouncing around a little bit, but it's all centered around the same points that you're making. There's something to be said here for the culture, and it's an overused word, but it applies here, that Danny White has brought to Knoxville. And I know that some folks will say, well, wait, hold on a second. Danny White didn't hire all these coaches. No, he didn't. But the job of an athletic director, a great athletic director, is far more than just hiring coaches. Obviously, fundraising is involved. It's getting people to buy in for that. Obviously, building new facilities when they're needed or renovating older ones like Neyland and like Lindsey Nelson and like Thompson Bowling, even things that they're going to do there. That's part of the job. But the other part of the job, and you talk to coaches, you talk to the athletes, they will, because I've talked to them at different universities, and they'll tell you this. It's the AD that sets the expectation bar. He or she is the one that says, here's where we're at now. Here's where we want to go. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And Danny last night on the field with one of the, I think it was a Knoxville TV crew, I think it was, said, listen, we're about building the best athletic department in the country. Now, that's a tall order, because when you look at overall athletic departments out here, people can say what they want, but USC, UCLA, Stanford are fantastic athletic departments. They've each won over 100 team NCAA titles. You look at Florida, you look at LSU, they go out and they hang banners. North Carolina has an outstanding athletic department. Tennessee, with the exception of the amount of titles that the 3 West Coast schools I mentioned have, Tennessee's right there with everybody. Tennessee is right there with everybody. And Danny White, I believe when he got there, he made it very clear to coaches, assistant coaches, and athletes, we're done just shooting for the SEC title. We are looking for national titles. And that will imply that we get an SEC title. But even if we don't, we're looking big time. And I think we've seen that. And I think that you're seeing that with other programs working towards that. And this, like Peyton said last night, guys, not only for baseball, but for UT athletics, this is only the beginning. It's only the beginning.
Christopher Gabriel of KMJ Radio in Fresno joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. And you know, Christopher, Wade and I talked about this at the onset of the show. It feels like this was a victory, not just for Tennessee baseball, but for Tennessee athletics, for all of the reasons that you've just enumerated. It just kind of feels like the seal's been broken. And I really loved your visualization of the Bulls in Pamplona. I think there's some possibilities there with somebody who's proficient in Photoshop of putting some orange scarves on some bulls running through the streets of Pamplona. Here we come, you know. But I just feel like, and somebody will say it's bias or whatever, I don't know, but it just feels like this thing has been bubbling up and it just popped off last night.
Yeah, you know, I say this to friends of mine, you know, and we all understand this. We all come to this job as broadcasters, writers, with certain bias, right? I mean, I grew up a Tennessee fan. I went to USC, but, you know, a Tennessee fan for a lot of different reasons. But there's also the media hat that I wear, and that allows me to look at things maybe from 30,000 feet, and sometimes being 2,300 miles from Knoxville, it allows me to see things a little bit more dispassionately. Not, admittedly, not last night. Last night it was all in with the fan hat. But you said it broke the seal. I think that's a great metaphor for this, because it has been bubbling up, Wade. I mean, it really has, and we've seen programs get so close. And after the first game's loss, losing 9-5, all you had to do was go on to social media, whether it was X, Twitter, whatever we're calling it, Facebook, and you saw Tennessee fans everywhere. Same old bleep, same old this. We're done. We're this. And everybody was going to what they know, which is Tennessee gets on the national stage, and what happens? Tennessee collapses. And to that extent, they were right. Now, they were probably much more emotionally unstable at that moment, because thinking that here goes another.
No, really?
Heaven forbid, right? But I think, you know, you look at the amount of comebacks in series, you know, times that this team has come back, either losing the first game of a series, wasn't many times, but they did come back to win all those series. The amount of times that this team has come back from deficits to win, and to write them off early on was an egregious assault on understanding what Tennessee baseball has become under Tony Vitello, especially this team. You know, one thing I love about this team, guys, is that the 2022 team was a blast. They were fun to watch, but the media hat, when that goes on, I was a little uncomfortable at times. I thought that they went a little too far. and some would say, oh, CG, you're a little out of touch with the kids. Well, maybe. I've got a teenage daughter and a daughter in college, and they help keep me centered. But I do think that they went a little too far. This year's team was about business. It was about going out there and not hoping to win, but expecting to win. And I heard some different broadcasters, I'm not going to mention their names. I heard some different broadcasters on their shows today, big time national guys, talking about Tony Vitello's antics and how immature he is and how he needs to have someone, an adult, sit him down and have a talk. You know what? Later for that. That tells me that those hosts and some others have not paid much attention to either college baseball this year or Tennessee baseball this year. Because this team, Tony this year, Tony would fight for his team if he needed to with an ump, but Tony would stand at that position on that second or third step in the dugout. That's where he was all game. This team put their little home run cape on, and the daddy hat, and that was about it. So I think, I think that the seal has been broken, and I think that everybody, you look at Tennessee football. I mean, they have a very business-like approach. You look at basketball; they have a very business-like approach. I think these three coaches get a lot from each other. And I think that moving forward, I do think, kind of going back to that central theme, that this athletic department, it's not about to take off. It already has taken off, and it's about ready collectively, I think, with teams to go to a different level. Do you get that sense, Mo?
I do. And again, I don't know if it's wishful thinking or if it's just objectively looking at how close these teams have been. And again, I think Tennessee football is next up with the expansion of the playoff system and that kind of thing. And it just feels like this program is ready to, ascend to another level. So,
Yeah, I would agree. You mentioned Tennessee football, and a lot of people forget the 10-year period between Barry Switzer and Bob Stoops. That 10-year period, I believe they were something like 6 games over 500 with 3 ties, and it was 3 coaches of a lot of mediocrity. And when Bob Stoops came in, I remember, a good friend of mine, Ryan Aber, he covers for the Oklahoman. He covers Oklahoma sports, and he said fans here in Norman and throughout Oklahoma that were Oklahoma fans were livid. They're like, "Who is this guy? He's not going to take us anywhere." And first year was good. Second year went undefeated, won the national championship. Point being, they were about ready to take off. They found the right guy. Nobody bought in early on, and then it took 2 seasons to buy in. Here, Josh Heupel came. I went on several different shows and said, I think he's the guy. And he's proven to be the guy. And he has elevated this program to the point where, it's that seal's about to. It got ripped off in the 11-2 Orange Bowl winning season, and then maybe lost a game or 2 more last year. That the Vols probably, we could argue that forever. The Missouri game, but I think this year it's going to be another coming out party for this team. When you look at the roster, and every one of those guys on that football team, every one of them was watching that game last night, and in one set of words or another, were saying to each other, "That can be us. That can be us."
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking immediately is it trickles down even to the players. Hey, we got to step our game up another level. And just having been on a college campus, I mean, we all have, obviously, but just when you walk around, it kind of goes back to like high school almost in a sense. Hey, there goes so-and-so down the hall. We just kind of got to step our game and aspire to that level. So I love the picture that you're painting there. And it's also from a human element, just so fascinating how delicate this balance is. If Tennessee throws like 3 more pitches a millimeter the other direction, we're not having any of this discussion today, which is just crazy to think about, right?
You're absolutely right. I was on the central coast of California in this wonderful small beach town named Cayucas during the Florida State series, with the opening game. And I'll admit, battered valve syndrome was alive and well. I forgot my medication, and it was bubbling over. I was ready to just run out and sit in the water and wait for a shark. I mean, it was just awful. And then that 9th inning came, and I found myself sitting there thinking, well, what are we watching here? What is happening here? And I'll tell you, I'm sure you guys felt the same way. When that ninth inning happened and they ended up winning that game 12-11, as on the lives of my daughters, I said out loud to anybody who was within earshot, including the Sand Crabs and the Sharks, they just exercised every demon that this program collectively has had, and they're gonna go all the way. They're gonna win this whole thing. It just felt like that's the kind of win. That was the Clint Sterner fumble in that ninth inning, right?
Felt like it.
Google it. Yeah,
That's right, kids. Google it. That's it.
Google
1998.
Yep. Christopher Gabriel of KMJ Radio out of Fresno joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by TOA of Columbia. Christopher, as always, we appreciate it. Enjoy the wet. What did you say it was in Fresno? Because I didn't realize it got that hot up there.
When you look at the planets, I would ask you respectfully to look at your universe maps, because you'll see Mercury, Venus, and then you'll see Fresno. It gets routinely, last summer we had 19 days in a row over 100. It gets incredibly hot here. It's unbearably hot. Yesterday was 107. Today it's supposed to be 106. I sometimes will go on the radio in the morning and I'll just say, today we're looking at 83 degrees right now here in Fresno, getting up to a high of 143. And invariably somebody will email the station and say, somebody needs to help this guy out. The temperature doesn't get to 143 degrees here. It's like, I get it. But it is hot. We usually don't see rain again here. And again, I'm not kidding. We don't see rain again here until early November. We saw a couple of drops yesterday. I saw a flash of lightning in the mountains. And I almost pulled over to the side of the road and just kind of got misty a little bit, like maybe we're going to get a little weather. So yeah, it gets hot here. It's a dry heat, but don't buy into that, fellas.
Don't worry.
Yeah, you say to folks, yeah, it's a dry heat, but it's still 110. So
yeah. Stay safe.
Thank
we
you.
Appreciate it. We'll catch up with you.
Thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure, guys.
Thank you, Chris.
When we continue here on Main Street Sports today from the Lee Company studios, it is the grab bag as we get ready for
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
That's right, guitars and fast cars right here in Music City. This summer, NASCAR is back at the Nashville Superspeedway. Get your tickets now to watch your favorite driver take on the 1.33 miles of concrete chaos. Visit NashvilleSuperspeedway.com to lock in your spot June 28th through the 30th for the Ally 400 race weekend.
Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOAF Columbia, continues. I'm Maurice Patton, that's Wade Neely, and we finally have a NHL champion. Wade, do you...
I lost you briefly there, Mo.
You got me now?
You're back.
There we go. I said, did Florida win or did they not lose last night?
Man, that's a great question. And I hadn't really thought about that, but I do think they outplayed Edmonton last night. They certainly did not outplay them in games 4 through 6. They clearly outplayed them in games 1 through 3, but last night I thought they outplayed them. So I think it was a worthy champion. Florida is saved of the absolute embarrassment that would have came with, and gut-wrenching that would have came with that loss. But Edmonton is also denied of what would have been just an insane and storied comeback last night. I think Florida was a worthy champion for sure, and they did outplay them last night.
I just cannot imagine. It almost feels like it would have been a relief for Florida to win last night and to go ahead and wrap up that Stanley Cup final in Game 7, given what had happened, like you said, in games 4 through 6, because, you know, how Edmonton was 3-1 in elimination games.
And I saw the stat, Florida had not won a Game 7 at home. I think they were 0-2 all time in Game 7s at home in their franchise history. So things historically were not looking good, and it just felt like, man, all the momentum in the world was with the Oilers, but they just could not get it up. Florida scores first, and you're thinking this place is, the roof's about to come off this place, and then Edmonton tied it up, and then from there it went back and forth until Florida, Reinhart, who'd been held in check basically all series, had just a kind of a snipe that really probably should have been blocked, but it wasn't blocked. And then Edmonton just kind of all hell broke loose on a number of different occasions in the third period. Empty nets. They just couldn't get a puck to get it to go in. And it was a crazy, crazy finish. What a way to end the season. Gary Bettman, even though he got booed at the end, as per usual, he's got to be proud with what they saw last night, which was wild.
Which commissioner gets booed more, Gary Bettman or Rob Manfred?
Man, that's a great question. And Bettman has kind of got it down to a little bit of an art. And Goodell gets booed when he comes out, and he kind of acts like, he's in on the joke. I think deep down that gets under his skin a little bit. But Bettman, I think, really does kind of enjoy being kind of the villain. It's been going on for so long that I feel like he's cool with it. The other cool thing, Mo, is last night she pulled double duty. Alanis Morissette, I got to see her in concert Sunday night at Bridgestone Arena, and less than 24 hours later, she sang not "Oh Canada" for her native land, but then also turned around and sang the Star Spangled Banner. And when that happened, I didn't know what was going to happen because, you're kind of rolling the dice a little bit, bringing out Alanis to sing "Oh Canada" first and foremost. And then all of a sudden, the vibes were just out of control. Game 7 was fantastic. You and I had talked earlier, too, that McDavid, he won the Conn Smythe, I think just the 7th all-time losing team, or losing player from a losing team. 6th. He was only the 2nd non-goalie to ever do it. And it was deserved. That goes to the whole playoffs. And, we talked last week. You rattled off all the stats that he had done. It was still kind of unique and wild to see. But, man, it was a fantastic postseason for the NHL from start to finish, really.
I'm impressed with the 2-for-1 Alanis deal. And
Yeah,
you
I'm
don't see
wondering
that
like
very
the
often,
terms of
do
her,
you?
I'm wondering if for the contract they said, hey, we could you do 2? We'll cut you a deal if you sing 2. I don't know how that played out.
That's wild.
Less
Yeah,
than
like
24 hours, she was scooting on down there to Sunrise to belt him out.
well, it was probably a little cooler with the ice down than it was at Bridgestone. So maybe a little bit more enjoyable. Certainly wasn't out there as long. So
Yeah. What was it? Return on investment or pay per minute. She definitely
you
had the
go.
better deal last night. There ain't no
You
doubt
would
about
think.
that.
You would think. We talked about Vanderbilt national champion Veronica Fraley, who won the NCAA Division I women's discus a few weeks ago up in Oregon. She's back in Oregon in the U.S. Olympic trials, and she has qualified for the finals, which will be held Thursday after placing third in the discus trials last night. She threw a little bit short of her NCAA championship throw of 63.66 meters, but she will be one of 12 finalists throwing on Thursday, and the top 3 advance to Paris. So keep an eye on Thursday's finals. Keep an eye on Veronica Fraley, and good luck to her as she pursues a spot on the U.S. women's track and field team for the upcoming Olympics. NBA news. JJ Redick had his introductory press conference yesterday as Los Angeles Lakers coach. So this is actually happening, apparently.
Yeah, crazy, isn't it? And one of my favorite podcasts is the Press Box from the Ringer Network, and they were joking. Famous podcaster demoted to Lakers head coach. So that's kind of how that looks like that's going to play out.
I am, for the time being, and hopefully it's a very, very long time, I am excommunicated from the content space. There will be no podcast.
So Doug Gottlieb is still going to do a full-blown radio show, and then JJ's like, you know what? I can't do this. I gotta focus on my real job here.
Well, I think JJ has probably taken the better approach of the two.
It certainly seems that way to me, no doubt.
But to be fair, I think JJ may have a little bit more work ahead of him too. So
that's also fair.
Yeah. This is interesting. I'm looking at an article on CBS Sports, and it's kind of going through some takeaways from yesterday's press conference. And the first one mentioned here is Anthony Davis was more involved in the hire than LeBron James, which I would think most of us would have a hard time believing. According to GM Rob Pelinka, James was very supportive of our organization in this process, and that's a different word, and I want to be mindful of the word, than involved. So I would say it again. LeBron was very supportive of us and our process, but chose not to be involved, and we respected that. Davis, on the other hand, he chose to be very involved and was very involved. I talked to him throughout the process and got a lot of help and wisdom from him, and he was very excited for today. That's interesting, because one of the draws to this arrangement apparently were or are the relationship between LBJ and Redick, right?
Yeah, and this is such a weird thing, and LeBron, and especially his camp, his team, Rich Paul and his crew, they kind of talk a little bit out of both sides of their mouth a lot of times with some of this stuff, and yeah, they want to kind of pull the strings and call the shots, but then publicly they don't really want to own up or fess up to it, and it just feels kind of like, oh, well, we didn't. Same deal that we're going to talk about. Any media entity on the planet is going to be compelled to talk about Bronny James later this week. Same deal. There's some quotes that are out there about that situation, and it's like, oh, well, we don't necessarily demand or want that to happen. We're you know, kind of distancing themselves, and it just feels like this is another deal here. I suppose it's obviously a cool little feather in the cap to maybe fluff up AD a little bit, who had a really strong season last year. So maybe a chance to kind of pad things over. And JJ kind of, you know, looked a little uncomfortable a little bit almost. You can make the case, because this got to be a weird situation for him too, right? Everybody on the planet kind of has a connotation that you're taking this job because of LeBron, and then you're trying to somehow spin it. What was the graphic? The only head coaching experience he has is his fourth grade, or what is it? It's, I forget the ages, but 10-year-old AAU basketball basically is the only coaching experience he's got. So, I mean, he's doing the best he can to try and win the public perception, but it's tough right now.
And, you know, maybe Davis is the guy that needs to be most on board with this situation when you consider that LeBron can be a free agent here real soon, like right after the draft, whereas AD is under contract for quite some time and is 8 years younger than LeBron. So maybe that is the guy that you needed to make sure was most cool with this situation. But
it seems like you want to curry his favor for sure.
Absolutely. Kristaps Porzingis played in Game 5 of Boston's 5-game series victory over Dallas in the NBA Finals, but is undergoing surgery for that odd injury that he sustained in Game 3, and will be out for the summer, won't be available for Latvia as they try to make the Olympics.
Yeah, it kind of felt like when he got on that court in the clinching game for Boston that it was, you know, nobody's really thinking about the Latvian national team at that point in time.
And that's unfortunate.
But yeah, exactly. They need their love too. But it felt like, you know, you weren't going to be seeing him on a court anytime soon. So that is kind of unfortunate because they're still not in. It looks like they're having to qualify to get in.
Yeah. Again, Porzingis will have surgery to repair a torn retinculum and dislocated posterior tibialis. Sure. He sustained the injury during Game 2, and again was somehow able to play Game 5, but not long. And so, yeah, like you said, Latvia has to qualify. He's not going to be able to play for them in qualifying or in Paris should Latvia qualify. So that's tough. Hate to see that.
A quick Wikipedia tells me they've only made one appearance at the Olympics and they've never medaled. So doesn't look good.
Yeah. Well, and this doesn't help.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, this is not going to help that case
not at
that
all.
effort any further, I don't think.
Not at all. Wade, one of the sayings in sports is you can't make the club in the tub. You can't make the club from the clink either. Kansas City Chiefs offensive lineman Isaiah Buggs is now former Kansas City Chiefs offensive lineman Isaiah Buggs, who has been arrested twice this offseason and is apparently in jail somewhere in Alabama for his latest arrest.
Oof. I mean, talk about for as good, as solid of a franchise as there is in professional sports these days, the Chiefs, man, they've had a ton of offseason issues this year.
Yeah. Buggs most recently is alleged to have unlawfully entered a woman's apartment and dragged the mother of his child down the stairs with the intent to commit a crime. This came less than a month after he turned himself in on misdemeanor charges of alleged animal cruelty. So, been an interesting offseason for Mr. Buggs, Kansas City's 6th-round pick out of Alabama in 2019. I'm sorry, that's not right. He was a 6th-round pick out of Alabama in 2019, began his career with the Steelers and played with the Lions, joined Kansas City in January as a member of their practice squad. So has not actually suited up for Kansas City apparently, and won't, I don't guess.
Yeah, just and that's the unfortunate part is the Chiefs are like, and this guy hadn't even played for us yet, and he's already getting in trouble. I mean, we already got guys that are on our team currently that have we're trying to sort out with problems and PR disasters, right?
Yeah, looking at you, Rashee Rice. Yeah, it would just seem like, I don't know, the lack of self-awareness in situations like that is really kind of odd. Like you said, you've not even played here yet, and you've got more arrests than plays. How's that work? So, yeah,
that's not a stat you want to be leading in.
No, Isaiah Buggs is a free agent, I guess. Caitlin Clark was named the Collegiate Women's Sports Awards Honda Cup winner for the second straight year. Becomes the fourth back-to-back winner of that award, recognizing the top women's collegiate athlete. Previous two-time winners were Maya Moore, Nashville's Tracy Calkins, and softball standout Rachel Garcia. So, second basketball player to win it, and fourth athlete, period, to win it twice.
That was a wild game on Sunday, by the way. We mentioned it in the rundown. As her and Angel going. Angel was balling out. Caitlin's balling out. Fever blew a huge lead. I changed the channel, and then they were up 12, maybe up even 15, and then I come back and it's a 4-point game, and then now Indiana's blown the lead, and I'm just like, holy smokes, what is going on here?
That's games like that I think are great for the WNBA when you're able to get those two on the floor at the same time and get a nice crowd in the house and get it televised and that kind of thing, just continuing to take advantage of the popularity of the WNBA. So that's good to see.
We also failed to mention in the rundown tonight. It's not, I gave you guys the game on the docket tonight. It's not just any game. This is big money on the line, Mo. It's the Commissioner's Cup Championship tonight.
Okay, now explain.
I failed to mention that.
Explain that to me. How does the Commissioner's Cup work?
Essentially similar to the in-season tournament, the way that I understand it, in the sense that kind of like soccer or other group play events. Your regular season games are counting toward these standings, and basically they use your points if you're talking about soccer or other sports, but you use your win-loss record in terms of basketball to seed, and then that kind of goes and seeds you from there. Now, the interesting thing is with this is that they kind of have a weird cash payout type deal. I'm not totally well versed on it. I remember following it a little more closer last year with the Aces. But there is an extra set of cash that is available. Where is this here? Let me pull this up. $500,000 available for the winning team tonight. A third of that comes from the team's salary cap. And then each player, oh, here you go. This will get everybody fired up. Too bad we can't Christopher Gabriel back to break this down. Each participating player will receive $5,000 in cryptocurrency. Players who are rookies or on veteran minimum contracts, they can earn up to 50% of their base salary with a win tonight.
Oh,
so we kind of undersold it. I apologize to the listeners here when I just told you guys it was kind of just a run-of-the-mill game tonight. It's
clearly not.
The 13-3 Lynx, are going to go toe-to-toe with the Liberty, who also, and I don't know what they got planned for tonight in New York, but did you see the Liberty mascot doing its thing over the weekend? Yeah, so ladies get in formation a little bit, because if we get anything like we saw with the Beyonce performance the other day, and for the Commissioner's Cup, I feel like you got to go all out, right? So we'll see what's in store tonight.
Can't hold anything back.
Yeah. No. I mean, now when you got at least 5K in crypto hanging in the balance for folks here, but a chance to win some extra money, and obviously it's kind of a cool thing. We saw this with the NBA. That it was kind of kind of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of a carnival sideshow in a sense. The NBA in-season tournament was this year, but the postseason format of it was entertaining, and I think this game tonight would be pretty fun as well.
Anytime you can get a little extra incentive, and cash is
Yeah.
always that, you should be interesting. Might be particularly worth a watch tonight, the Lynx and the Liberty. So check that out. Let's take our final break, a quick break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia. And when we return to the Lee Company studios, it's Top 5 Tuesday, as Wade and I will give you our most memorable championships. Stay tuned.
Are you the biggest race fan? Main Street Media and Rackley Roofing are teaming up to send a family of 4 to the Rackley Roofing 200 truck race at the Nashville Super Speedway on June 28th. All you have to do is head to your favorite Main Street Media site and click on the Rackley banner to win.
Top Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. This is our final segment of the show. And it's Top 5 Tuesday, brought to you by Mid-South 5 Fitness. 2 great locations, one in Franklin, one in Columbia. Whatever shape it is you're in, Thalas Steel will get you in a better one. So be sure and find him at steelathletes.com. That's STEEL athletes.com. to get hooked up. In light of last night's events, both the Stanley Cup final and the Men's College World Series, not really. Wade and I are going to give you our top 5 most memorable championships. So, buckle up. Wade, number 1.
Number 1, I'm coming hot right out of the gate. Let's dial it back to 1997, and this is an individual championship, but when Tiger Woods wins the 61st Masters, we didn't know it at the time, or maybe we did, but he was transforming the game of golf to the extent that we would never see it ever again. And by him winning that, setting off that chain reaction, going on his crazy personal run, but just kind of transforming the sport in general, that one is on the top of my list, the 97 Masters.
That's a great one. And as you put it, I think we may have known it. I don't know that we knew to what degree. But yeah,
I mean, you knew something was going on, but I mean, just the game just totally.
The magnitude of it, you may not have known, but yeah. I'm going to go recent. And if my shirt, you can't see it probably, but my shirt would probably give it away. But
is that a Michigan 24 national champ shirt?
It is not a Michigan 24 national champion shirt. It is a Braves 21 World Series champion shirt. Enough said.
Yeah, you just had to go there, but that's okay.
Yeah, well, you had that Astro shirt on a few weeks ago. I've still not forgotten it yet. So
number 2, they didn't beat the Braves though.
No, well, not that year.
Well,
number 2.
Number 2 for me. Let's walk it back. I'll stay baseball here, but give me 2004. This was a dud of a World Series, but it had so much hype behind it. The Red Sox, fresh off the win versus the Yankees. The most memorable dud of a World Series I think that you'll ever see, because everybody in the country seemed like they were captivated by it that year, after what they had done in the ALCS.
Yeah. Speaking of coming back from 3-0 deficits, right? So yeah. That's a good one. My number 2 is the 95 World Series champion Braves. Broke through after kind of knocking on the door throughout the 90s and down Cleveland in 6 games there. So back-to-back Braves. Anybody that knows me probably isn't shocked. But you're number 3.
On brand, if nothing else.
Yeah, well, consistent.
Absolutely. Up next for me, I am going to, I'll just get this one out of the way because I don't want them coming at me. But give me the Vols in '98 winning the first ever BCS national championship. Yeah, there may be a pass interference that wasn't called when they beat Syracuse early in the season. Yeah, Clint Sterner fumbled, as we already referenced on this show. Yeah, rest in peace, Chris Winkie. Or Marcus Outson had to get the start. Chris Winkie was not playing. Throw all that out the window. The Vols still had to go and win the games, and I don't want the Big Orange Nation coming after me. So give me the Vols in '98 with the title.
They did still have to go win the games, absolutely.
Yeah, you still got to win them.
So kudos to the '98 Vols. I'm going to stay on Rocky Top, and I'm going to cheat just a little bit, but I'm going with the '96, '97, '98 Lady Vols. Going 3 for 3 over that stretch, one of which they incurred the most losses of any national champion, and the one behind it going undefeated. So give me that triumvirate of Lady Vols there at number 3.
Man, it is. I was still kind of coming of age at the time, but just watching my dad watch all those games, and I could just see how he was glued to the TV, and you could just tell something special was going on. That was a captivating time.
It really was. Yeah, absolutely. Number 4 for you, sir?
Up next for me, if you live in the state of Utah, I apologize in advance, but the Bulls in '98, I mean, an iconic championship at the height of maybe even the history of the NBA, perhaps. A lot of people would speculate, Jordan, Russell.
Pushed off.
He absolutely shoved the crap out of him. Who cares? Nobody really remembers or cares about that at this point. Jordan and the Bulls in '98 added to my list as one of the most memorable championships.
Jordan pushed off. My number 4 is the first championship that I had a chance to cover as a journalist, and it is the 1989 Franklin Rebels boys basketball team defeating nationally ranked, nationally touted Whites Creek in the finals over at Murphy Center. As I have said to some of the guys on that team, Kevin Anglin and 4 stiffs, but it was good enough to defeat a really good Whites Creek team led by David Vaughn. So that was really cool. It was cool watching your alma mater do something like that on that stage. So yeah, give me that.
You know me too well because I had that one for my last. Give me the Giles County boys basketball team in 2003. Still the only boys basketball championship for Giles County, led by a sophomore, Tyler Smith, and some really good juniors and some really good seniors. We had to beat Bolivar at home in the sectionals on a buzzer beater from half court to even get to Murfreesboro. And then they knocked off Fulton, they knocked off Haywood County, and then they knocked off Ridgeway, who was the defending champ, on a buzzer beater from good buddy Eric Howard. Eric Wheezy Howard floats one in. So I'm with you right there. Got to give it, nationally, maybe not the most memorable, but it's one that anybody in the community of Giles County will never, ever, ever forget.
I get it. I get it. And my number 5, this may have been, I'm going to take the disclaimer off. I cannot imagine a better high school baseball game than the 2018 Class A state championship between Columbia Academy and Loretto. 1-0 in 12 innings. CA wins it, defeating current MLB pitcher Ryan Weathers, but a lot of good talent on both sides of the ball in that one, and that is my number 5. That's going to do it for Top 5 Tuesday here, brought to you by Mid-South 5 Fitness. Again, 2 great locations, one in Franklin, one in Columbia. Check out steelathletes.com for more information on that. That's going to do it for the Tuesday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Come back tomorrow, 2 o'clock, to the Lee Company Studios. We will have Bruce Walker and Chip Walter. See you then.